Something that continues to be a recurring issue in the live-action Transformers films is the inconsistent attendance record of certain characters. With the exception of the big-time players like Optimus Prime and Bumblebee, who's essentially become the face of the brand, there are some who vanished as soon as they were introduced, and the writers weren't really keen on explaining why those particular members mysteriously disappeared. That's until the concept of Cemetery Wind was introduced in Transformers Age of Extinction. This organization was originally created to hunt down and eradicate any remaining Decepticons on Earth after the Battle of Chicago. However, they went rogue and were secretly hunting the Autobots behind the government's back, resulting in them becoming nothing more than ruthless serial killers. And their founder, Harold Oettinger, was even seen with custom cards confirming some of the Autobots' deaths. Amongst the card deck was the very forgettable member Arcee. Now, to be fair, this didn't really confirm what we already didn't know. We already saw her and Elita One meet their untimely deaths when they were shot down in the Big Battle of Egypt. But there's something special about Arcee that makes her a little different from her comrades, and we're going to talk about it today. But before we uncover her origins, I gotta give a major shout out to today's sponsor, Monster Legends. This game has been absolutely killing it in the mobile gaming realm, and you can find hundreds of different monsters to collect on it. Most of all, you can find many of your favorite YouTubers playing it, such as The Do, Dream, and Mr. Beast. And that's because Monster Legends is absolutely free to play. There are some awesome details that'll make you fall in love with this game. Like, if you want to acquire new monsters, they ain't just gonna appear out of thin air. So you'll have to breed 2 cool monsters to get an even cooler monster. And you need to keep them fed in order to get the best performance out of them on the battlefield. There are different PvP modes such as special dungeons and an adventure map to keep things interesting. And events are held every week to discover and play new adventures. One of the things you'll appreciate about this game the most is that you can fight in real time against your friends. So what are you waiting on? Jump in the description below this video and click the link to download the game and get this special reward worth $30. If you take this offer now, you'll get 50,000 food, the epic monster Norian, and 300,000 gold. Sounds like a great way to kick things off, huh? So unleash your beast and download Monster Legends today. After the Battle of Mission City and the disbandment of Sector 7, N.E.S.T was founded as a military alliance between the Autobots and military who were tasked with hunting down Decepticons that were hiding around the globe. Arcee and her sisters Chromia and Elita One were among some of the newest Autobot members and would make their on-screen debuts in Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. Arcee was initially set to be in the 2007 Transformers film and had a very positive fan reaction.
We have a character here, Arcee, who's one of the only female robots in the Transformers lore, and she actually almost made it into the movie, but for some reason they couldn't quite get the plot line correct, so maybe we'll see her in future movies to come.
Due to the fact that there was not enough time in the movie to explain the presence of a female in a robot race, she was dropped from the script and replaced with Ironhide. In an interview, the screenwriter Alex Kurtzman cited scale issues as an additional reason for dropping Arcee. Allegedly, Michael Bay simply considered her too small as compared to the rest of the Autobots. Had she been featured in the first film, she would have been around 9 feet tall as seen in the robot scale chart that was shown off at 2007's Botcon. However, all the designs on this chart were very early and later heavily revised, though Jazz was revised far less than the others. Even though Arcee was not in the movie, a motorcycle was used by Captain William Lennox to attack Blackout, and this made many assume that the bike was meant to be her. However, the screenwriters rejected that notion, stating that this scene wasn't written until after Arcee had already been dropped from the script, but if she had remained in the movie, that scene would have featured her as the motorcycle. Now, although Arcee was not in the first film, the character still appeared in the movie comic book tie-ins where she fights as part of Bumblebee's squad. As she made more appearances across the expanded novelization, she would later be confirmed to be a tripartite Cybertronian. These Transformers possess a mitotic spark which allows them to control multiple components, which in Arcee's case, 3 bodies. This allowed her and her sisters to attack with extremely precise timing, and according to her biography for her 2009 movie Toys, she commands her team. Transformers Revenge of the Fallen's co-writer Roberto Arcee has stated he intended the 3 motorcycles to be a single mind, but Michael Bay portrayed them as individuals just like the Hasbro Bios. And if this was Bay's intention, it didn't particularly come across in the movie, because we don't necessarily see the sisters do much. What we did see was Major Lennox refer to them simply as Arcee as if they were a unit controlled by one. And the scene where we see the sisters chasing sideways gives off the vibe that they are moving as if they're being controlled by a singular entity. Not only do they move in perfect unison with one another, they all sport the same holographic avatar while in vehicle form. But other than that, there's not much there. And apparently they would have combined into one Transformer as seen in the concept art, but we simply didn't get that. There was minimal dialogue for her and her sisters, and as mentioned earlier, Arcee and Elita One was killed off during the Battle of Egypt. And this left many of us wondering, what happened to the Chromia component? It is never explained in Dark of the Moon why the Arcee bots were absent in the film, but according to Roberto Arcee, all of the Arcee components were killed during the battle, which is highly alluded to in Age of Extinction. And if that's the case, I think all of the sisters should have been shown off in those cards instead of the pink RC component. To make things even more confusing, IDW's tie-in comics chose to ignore this and continue to feature the three sisters in issues such as Rising Storm. But we'll talk more about those chapters later in the video. Before we do that, I think it's only important that we start from the beginning. According to her toy bio, Arcee was well trained by Ironhide, making her one of the most dangerous Autobots. Apparently, she was on Earth for a short time at the beginning of the conflict there, presumably arriving shortly after Bumblebee in the early part of the 21st century. But when the situation on Earth began to ramp up in out-and-out combat, she was reassigned to the Tree system, where her stealth skills would be of more use fighting against a Decepticon splinter cell working on a star-breaking weapon. She nevertheless jumped at the chance to get back on Earth and was soon handed control of her own strike team made up of robots similar to her in attitude and design. Arcee stalked Decepticons and killed them on the quiet, but some of these things don't quite add up. The only thing that does match is her being a leader of a stealth strike team, which is seen in Revenge of the Fallen. But when you try to correlate the bios with the IDW movie tie-in story, which is said to be canon, it simply does not match. According to her comic book arc, she didn't arrive on Earth until after the Battle of Mission City. Shortly before she arrived, she was stationed on Mars, where she commanded an Autobot assault team. Arcee led an attack on the Decepticon ship known as the Nemesis. While her team made short work of the Swindle, Dreadwing, and Payload drones the Decepticons sent against them, Arcee killed the Decepticon sniper Hardtop before he could take out Smokescreen. However, her teammates were unprepared for the arrival of Thundercracker, and he quickly slew Camshaft and wounded Cliffjumper. Remembering her failure at Tiger Pax, Arcee leapt into action, and soon she and Cliffjumper had Thundercracker at their mercy. The arrival of Starscream changed that, as he killed Smokescreen in Air Raid and badly damaged Cliffjumper. As she attempted to pull the last surviving member of her team to safety, Arcee was kicked aside by Starscream. Triumphant in their victory, Starscream and crew traveled through the space bridge to the city of Trypticon on Cybertron, but unbeknownst to them, Arcee managed to stow away as the ship lifted off. She jumped and grabbed onto a piece of the landing gear, holding on tight. Later, she made her way back to an Autobot facility where she unexpectedly met Clocker and Crosshairs. Crosshairs explained the Autobot situation to her, then invited her along for the attack. Along with a large force of Autobots, the three moved in on Semper Temple, where Starscream was using captured Autobots for a strange project of his. She split her troops into two forces. One would attack the city of Trypticon as a diversion, while the other moved in on Semper. Arcee and her team could only watch helplessly as Starscream drained the life out of the Autobot prisoner strapped onto the replica Allspark, despite her sister Elita One's pleas for mercy. An opportunity to cause havoc presented itself when Dreadwing's forces attempted a coup. Arcee lined up her sights on the generator holding the life energy of the deceased prisoners, dedicated the shot to Elita and destroyed it, annihilating the cube and sending the Decepticons into disarray. Her team fought their way through the disorganized Decepticons, linked up with Wingblade's team, and rolled out just as the crippled starship came crashing down on the city. With the destruction of the capital and the defeat of a significant portion of the Decepticon drone army, Arcee considered this to be a turning point of the war. But as long as Starscream was alive, he was a threat that she had to track down. As the ship Arcee is on enters a planet's atmosphere, Thundercracker appears and blasts the ship from the sky. Arcee is trapped in the craft's remains as her shipmates leave the wreckage to battle Thundercracker. When she finally frees herself, she finds that it has gone strangely quiet, for Thundercracker has emerged from the battle victorious. As he approaches her and says he's glad to see her, she blacks out. She wakes up later with a scream, horrified to see her dead and dissected body on the table in front of her. She is in the laboratory of Flatline, a Decepticon field medic, and her spark has been transferred to a protoform body. Flatline notices that she is awake and reports to Thundercracker that he thinks her spark is not strong enough to power the rest. Thundercracker disagrees and tells Flatline to try again without making any more mistakes as they're running out of protoforms. While Thundercracker heads down to see their new warriors for himself, Flatline leaves to gather more supplies, telling Arcee to stay put. As she looks around, Arcee is surprised to see Skids and Mudflap in an energy cage. The twins note that A, Arcee doesn't look right, and B, none of them do. This leads Arcee to further notice the two lifeless protoforms next to her and wonder aloud what is going on. The twins debate over which one should answer her, but when she cuts them off and demands they just tell her, Flatline returns and answers for them. Arcee's spark was saved by the medic as part of an experiment to speed up the development of new protoforms and quickly produce more Decepticon soldiers. He also explains that he only did part of the dissection, with most of the initial damage having been caused by Thundercracker. The body in question comes in just in time to hear this and claims he was happy to do so. Arcee feels a surge of hatred over Thundercracker killing her teammates, but can't yet remember his name. Thundercracker explains that Arcee was the one who gave him the scar on his neck and admits that he did get carried away. Flatline then asks Thundercracker for help, prompting Arcee to ask who he is and about the transfer. Flatline introduces himself and explains more about his experiments, as well as how he tried to unsuccessfully reprogram Skid's and Mudflap's processors. Flatline notes that the failure doesn't concern him as he feels he's on the verge of an even greater breakthrough, and he powers Arcee down. Once she's unconscious, she has visions of her teammates falling before Thundercracker just before she's dispatched herself. When Flatline completes the transfer, she feels all of her memories rushing back all at once in all three bodies. Delighted to see this, Flatline runs off to get a fourth hatchling for her to power. Once he is gone, Arcee blasts the control box, locking Skids and Mudflaps in their cell. However, she still can't break her restraints, so she asks them to do it for her. Unfortunately, both Skids and Mudflaps are still rattled from their botched reprogramming. They only understand every other word she's saying and can't remember that they're Autobots. But eventually, they return the favor and unlock her restraints just in time for Flatline to return. The medic is shocked and amazed that all three protoforms share Arcee's thoughts and consciousness and tries to subdue her himself. Unfortunately for him, they also share her firepower and hatred for him, and one of them pelts him with chunks of her old body. Overwhelmed, Flatline beats a retreat as Arcee's Elita One self checks on the twins. Thankfully, their brains have started firing on more cylinders, and they're more motivated to help Arcee, especially since those Decepticon jerks stole their ship. Hopeful, Arcee leads Skids and Mudflaps through the outpost corridors. Along the way, they're accosted by Flatline and a horde of Dreadwings and payloads. Flatline feebly tries to get Arcee to calm down, saying she's just suffering side effects from the transfer and that he can fix her. Arcee has none of that, and as her Elita One and Chromia selves scrap the drones, her Arcee self leads Skids and Mudflap to safety. Just as Elita One and Chromia gain the upper hand, Thundercracker shows up and incapacitates them both. Once she gets the twins to the exit, Arcee catches up with her other two selves, guided by their shared visions before Thundercracker could execute Elita One. At first, Thundercracker isn't worried, warning Arcee that it didn't end well for her the last time they fought. But even he is quickly outmatched by the vengeful Arcee, who admonishes him for killing her friends and even his own kind. Before Arcee could finish the job, however, Thundercracker escapes. Lamenting losing her target, Arcee and her components try to track down Flatline, only to find he is long gone and that he's activated a stash of explosive charges. Disgusted with Flatline's cowardice, Arcee and the twins escape the outpost as it self-destructs. They eventually find the twins' ship and escape. As they leave, Arcee wondered whether her weird new existence was a mistake or if she was merely destined for greater things. Regardless, she refused to become bent on revenge against Thundercracker for the deaths of her crew, so she and the twins made plans to join the rest of the Autobots. But yeah guys, this story, which comes from issue number 6 of Tales of the Fallen, gives a good reason behind Arcee's new robot mode and how she came to be a tripartite Cybertronian, previously explained away by absolutely nothing. And as a side note, it also explains Skids and Mudflap's dopey behavior in the film as the result of Flatline's attempted reprogramming of their brains, even though it doesn't necessarily explain why they were so stereotypical, but I digress. A short time later, Arcee and her sisters along with Skids, Mudflap, Sideswipe, Topspin, Leadfoot, and Roadbuster arrived on Earth on the Wrecker's ship Sanctium. Joining the allied Autobot human strike force N.E.S.T, Arcee and the new recruits received some training and were soon called upon to put it into use. The Decepticon Demolisher had been sighted in Shanghai, China. And that basically catches us up to when she was last seen in Revenge of the Fallen. Now, Transformers Age of Extinction pretty much confirmed that Arcee is deceased, and that's one of the many things the movie basically contradicts based on pre-established lore from the previous films and comics. Even though the expanded novelization continues Arcee's story arc after TF2, Michael Bay got in his feelings after discovering that the movie tie-in comic issues of Dark and the Moon revealed a major portion of the plot before the film was released, so the tie-in comics were discontinued, which completely blows considering the fact that those issues do a better job representing those characters and giving them more leg room to actually develop. As I mentioned earlier, Arcee was actually seen in the Rise and Storm issues from 2011, and the Bayverse is pretty much ended, so if you want to read her stories and acknowledge them as canon, you can. What I really loved about her story is that it is essentially a rebirth by fire. We see her pushed into the leadership position and she's reluctant to do that at times, but when she does, she's one of the most effective Autobots on the battlefield. I also like how she possesses a special source of willpower, as seen when it's explained that her spark could simultaneously control all three of her new bodies. Even though she was the outcome of a freak experiment, her determination and will to live turned her into a valuable asset, which is dope. But anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed this little origin / explanation video. It was so fun going back and reading Arcee's story to get closure on what really happened to her. And I'm happy that the character has since gone on to become even more awesome than she's ever been before. And she's made appearances in later TF movies. But what do you guys think? Do the movie tie-in comics make you more interested in her character? And do you like to consider them canon? Let me know down in the comments below. As always, I ask that you like or dislike the video. It doesn't have to be a thumbs up, it can be a thumbs down. Any feedback is good feedback and will only help me improve on future videos. But if you really enjoyed the video, it would help me out tremendously if you shared it with all your friends and followers on social media. Sharing really makes a difference. Once again, I gotta give a big thank you to Monster Legends for sponsoring this video and remind you guys that they're giving away a special reward worth 30 bucks. You get 50,000 food, the epic monster Naurian, and 300,000 gold. There's hundreds of different monsters to collect, and you can find many of your favorite YouTube influencers playing this game. And it costs you nothing since it's absolutely free to play, so I implore you to take advantage of that special offer now. You have little to lose and a lot to gain from this awesome gift. So definitely get on that, and once again, thank you to Monster Legends for sponsoring this video. But once again, this is your boy RBG signing out on another video. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.